In the spring of the year 68 AD, the Roman Empire entered a political crisis. The provinces of Gaul were in open revolt against the Emperor Nero, who faced the possibility of usurpation. In the west, the governor of Hispania, Servius Sulpicius Galba, was selected as the alternative to Nero's unpopular rule. Galba was a wealthy aristocrat who had been appointed by Nero to govern Hispania for 8 years. On June 8, 68 AD, Nero ended his life by suicide, and the first major struggle for control of the empire began in earnest. In Rome, the Praetorian prefect, Nymphidius Sabinus, attempted to make himself emperor through his close association with Nero. However, his efforts were in vain, and the Praetorian Guard had him killed prior to Galba's arrival. In response, Galba ordered all those who took part in the murder be put to death without trials. This was in complete contrast to what many expected from the new emperor. Things went from bad to worse, as Galba ordered the slaughter of a legion of sailors who had been assembled in Nero's time and had attempted to harass him about giving them their equal standards. His additional sparing of the former prefect, Auphonius Tigellinus, who many considered to be the instigator of Nero's cruelty, was viewed with contempt. Soon the legions began plotting to overthrow Galba and place a new man in charge of the empire. Meanwhile, Galba was pressured to choose Marcus Salvius Otho as his successor, given that he himself was of advanced age. He skillfully postponed the decision until after the appointment of himself and his general, Titus Vinius, as consuls for 69 AD. On the first day of the new year, the legions of Gaul rebelled, citing Galba's failure for not paying them the donatives they were promised secretly by Sabinus. In response, Galba selected Lucius Calpurnius Piso as his heir, much to the dismay of Otho. This act of dishonor spurred Otho to recruit several of the Praetorians in order to have Galba removed from his post. On January 15th, 4 days after the adoption of Piso, the Praetorians ambushed Galba and his associates near the Roman Forum and cut them all down. The emperor had his head removed and stuck upon a spear to be paraded about the streets. Within days, the Senate convened and acknowledged Otho as the new emperor of Rome. But the year of the 4 emperors was only just beginning. Born to an illustrious family and having been closely associated with Nero, Marcus Salvius Otho assumed control of the Roman Empire upon the death of Emperor Galba. But just like his predecessor, there was no time for administrative duties. Another uprising had manifested in Gaul, with the legions of Germania calling for Aulus Vitellius to be declared the new emperor. With little time to prepare his forces, Otho marched into northern Italy to block Vitellius from moving down the Alps. From his headquarters in the city of Brixellum, Otho and his generals successfully defended the city of Placentia against a prolonged attack by the legions of Vitellius. After this victory, Otho's forces moved up to Bedriacum, where they awaited reinforcements from the legions of the eastern provinces near the city of Cremona. With the enemy close at hand, the emperor called a war council to discuss his options for engaging with Vitellius. Half of his generals preferred to wait for the new legions to join them, while the other half advocated to engage the enemy immediately and solidify his position as the true master of Rome. In the end, Otho selected the latter option and retired to Brixellum while his army remained stationed at Bedriacum. A few days later, the forces of Otho and Vitellius engaged each other several miles from the camp, with Otho's men being forced to retreat and receiving thousands of casualties. With the situation looking grim, Otho addressed his army, stating that it was better that he alone should die in order to obtain peace than to suffer Italy for want of her citizens. The following day, April 16th, 69 AD, the emperor took his own life with a sword to the heart. He had led the Romans for 3 months as emperor. His body was cremated, and his remains were buried in a tomb near Brixellum. After his death, the Romans would crown a new emperor in Vitellius, but less than a year later, he would be killed in Rome by supporters of the new emperor, Vespasian. With the end of the year of the 4 emperors came the rise of the Flavian dynasty, who would go on to rule the Roman Empire for 27 years.